that record button. Click. All right, we're underway. Greetings, everybody. Lee McCroskey, your favorite leader. Not really, but I am coming to you via the internet, and we're ready to take notes. Last week, we covered more information, great information on how to get unstuck by asking yourself crucial questions. And if you recall, if you heard the recording, some of you did, some of you were live, we talked about the outcome frame. And that is a great way to get very clear on what you want. I just got out of the swimming pool, so my hair is full of chlorine. It's very starchy and sticky, and that will tie into what we're covering today, because I want to talk about a great swimmer. So we're shifting gears from how to get unstuck and how to get clarity, which is redundant, on your goals. And we're shifting into maybe a series. It depends on if I feel like it or if someone sends me more ideas. But I have a fun book called The Mind Gym. Mind Gym. And it's a great book. It's an athlete's guide to inner excellence. And everything in this book, in the Mind Gym, absolutely pertains to what you all are doing at LGFG in sales. So I'm going to be using it and drawing from it and taking some of the way that athletes do inner excellence mentally to become great champions. And this will also overlap with a book called The Power of Habit. The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. The Power of Habit, Charles Duhigg. Yeah. So we're transitioning a little bit into, you know, if some of you are a little bit on a plateau or a little bit in a rut, the main thing that you have to change, I believe, is how you're thinking. Okay? And if you want to take it to the next level, the main thing to change is how you are thinking. So today I want to talk about Katie Ledecky. 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 You can Google her if you want. She is one of the dominant athletes in the world right now. And some of you are going, I don't even know who she is. How can she be dominant? She is as dominant in many ways as Michael Phelps, if you've heard of him in the swimming world. So let me give you just a teeny bit of her bio, and then we'll talk about what her routine is, what her mental game is, what her mind gym is like to help her become a champion. I'm assuming that you, whether you're a booking buddy, whether you're a clothier, that you are interested in improving and going to the next level. So we're going to talk about, if you need a header for today, 6 ways champions think differently. Good. See, lots of people at least acting like they're writing something down. Thank you so much. 6 ways that champions think differently. So let me tell you about Katie Ledecky. She's a swimmer from the United States. Here's a little bit of her bio. At the last Olympic Games, she got gold in the 200 free. She set a world record in the 400 free, a world record in the 800 free. She got a silver medal in a relay. She has already, in sports, if you measure her by the gap of how much she wins her races by, and everybody that's behind her, she's probably the most dominant athlete around. 2 or 3 years ago at the world competitions, she won the 1500 freestyle by more than 14 seconds. 14 seconds! That's a long time. The 800 freestyle, she won it by more than 10 seconds against the best people in the entire world. And when she set the most recent of her 11 world records in the 800 free at a meet, her margin of victory was 18 seconds. Now, give you some context. How many of you have heard of Usain Bolt? Remember the sprinter? He crosses the line, you know, Usain Bolt's world renowned. He gets beaten occasionally. Serena Williams, if you're a tennis person, she does not win every Grand Slam title in tennis. If you're a basketball fan in the NBA, right? Golden State Warriors just won another championship. Stephen Curry goes 5 for 20 when he's shooting occasionally. Doesn't always have fantastic games, although he's fantastic. But Ledecky, this girl, Katie, has swum in 15 more than 15 individual finals at major international meets. She has never been beaten. Never been beaten. She is, let me put it in more context. She's beyond Chenda. Huh? Now I've got your attention. You're like, wow, she's better than Chenda. Yes. If she were selling suits, she would be dominating. Okay. So give you one more. If you've ever watched the Tour de France, anybody watch that bicycle race? Ooh, yeah. She would have won the last Tour de France, if you put it in comparison, by dominance by 40 minutes. Okay. So now I've established her credibility, if you don't know about her. Her big quote is she's always afraid that at the end of a race, she does distance events, that she'll have too much energy left over. So she expends it all, okay? Now here's the key. Like most Olympic athletes, the thought is really the genesis of her success. And that is exactly what I want to tell you today, all right? This guy, Charles Duhigg, that wrote this book, wrote another called Smarter, Faster, Better: The Secrets of Being Productive in Life and in Business. And he talks about visualization techniques to get ready for your day. How many of you visualize your day before the day starts? Raise your hand. I'm looking at you. Does anybody visualize what kind of day you want? Okay. That would be a smart thing. He says running through the day in your mind beforehand is not just for athletes, but it's for business people, because your brain has to decide what deserves attention and what deserves to be ignored. And the way it does it is it compares what we expect is going to happen to what is actually going on. That's how your brain kind of deciphers everything. So what you pay attention to during the day, i.e. your thoughts, right? How you're evaluating your performance, what you're telling yourself as the day goes by, or as you set up your day to prepare for it, is absolutely mission critical to improving. Okay? He says when you visualize your day before starting it, you make it easier for your brain to screen out stuff that's irrelevant and catch the important bits that are going on. So here's an idea. He said people who do really well under pressure are storytellers. You might write that down. Those people who excel are storytellers. They narrate their own lives to themselves. Does that make sense? They narrate what's going on, things that have just happened, things that are about to happen. And so you can make choices and you can choose your thoughts. That is so huge. You know, I remember when I started off selling, maybe some of you can relate to this, is when I started off in the morning and I was making calls and contacting clients and it wasn't going well. What does the average salesperson tell himself? You're all muted, but I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, this sucks. This is going to be another crappy day. Has anyone ever thought that? Raise your hand. Okay, 5, 7 people. Good. Well, it's so easy to get frustrated. Now, other people do this. They start off great and they go, woo, this is going to be a great day. Or they go, yeah, I've had a great morning. I can let up. Let me check Facebook. Bad idea. So there's different ways you can short circuit yourself, but it's real important that in the morning you get in the right frame of mind. Okay. Coming out of a meeting with a client, you might say, God, here we go. I knew that was going to happen, and kind of get down on yourself. But your brain is always working. You're always it's always telling you a story. And so you have to sort of control your narration. And that is really hard at first, because most of us, when we go through life, our brains are just on autopilot. And there's this inner dialogue going on all the time, and it just talks to us, and we just go, yeah, right, you're right, whatever. And you don't pay attention to it. So I'm asking you to pay attention to it and start making changes. Instead of telling yourself, oh gosh, I hope this is going to be a good day, decide this is going to be a great day. And then picture in your mind what kind of day it's going to be. If you're making calls, if you're a booking buddy, you sit and look at your call schedule and you look at a filled out calendar. Wow, I filled it up. You know, that's a great day. Picture that ahead of time, right? Don't just plug it, strap on the headset and go, well, I hope this works. Here we go. That is not the way to win and become a champion, all right? So narrate your day. Okay, I'm going to give you the 6 things that Katie Ledecky does to be a champion. All right, 6 things. Some of them will be painfully obvious. If you're if you're an athlete, you're going to have to be in good shape. So number 1, she does the work physically. She does the work physically. And you're like, okay, what does she do? I know she swims in a pool, big deal. Well, she does more than most. Here's her schedule. She wakes up at 4 in the morning. She eats exactly 2 pieces of toast with peanut butter and a banana. Okay. Then she trains from 5 a.m. to 6:30, and she swims between 6,000 and 6,500 meters. This morning, as of 1 hour ago, I finished swimming 3,000 meters. I am pooped, I am sore, and I can respect the fact that she swims almost twice as far in a little bit more time than I do. But that's incredible. She then naps at 8 o'clock, which is exactly what I'm going to do when we hang up. No, I'm not. I'm going to keep working. Don't you worry. I'm working. Then Katie goes on to do dry land exercises 3 days a week. And then she trains again for, 2.5 hours at 3:30 p.m. And she swims between 7,000 and 8,000 meters. So that's 15,000 meters a day. And then, as you could imagine, she's tired and she goes to bed at 9 o'clock. Bam. That is her schedule. So she puts in the hours. How many of you have read the book Outliers? Anybody read Outliers? A couple of you. Great book to read because it's a study of all the people in various fields who've excelled. And I remember one chapter is called 10,000 Hours. And the chapter highlights the Beatles. And a lot of people say, you know, you listen to the music critics and they say the Beatles, oh, these 4 lads came out of Liverpool. They were an overnight sensation. That is absolutely a lie. They put in 10,000 hours of playing in crappy, rundown pubs in Germany and different parts of Europe to hone their craft and get good, because they weren't good at first, but they put in the time. And some of you are like, wow, I'm really tired of LGFG. I feel kind of burned out and bored. And I'm like, how many hours have you put in? Oh, 800. I'm in my first year. I'm like, well, guess what? You need to put in some more hours. You've got to do the work. Okay, that's point number 1. Point number 2. Katie Ledecky does a lot of mental work also. Mentally, every successful entrepreneur I know works more hours than the average person. You just have to do that, okay? A lot more. They've got long lists of things they want to do and they want to accomplish, and they want to put in the time. They want to tick things off their task list because it's important for them. Okay, you might say, well, that's just crazy. And I'm not saying you have to work and live and breathe, you know, sales 24 hours a day. That's not what I'm saying. But the people who do well put in the work physically, they do the grind, and they also do the mental work. I remember yesterday we were talking to Yana. It was a little group, you know, in Perth that we talked to, and I asked her how she preps for her day. And she takes at least 10 to 15 minutes to get in the right mental state before she starts making calls or doing fittings or having appointments. And she has affirmations. She says out loud, and she also listens to a recording, I think, that she sent out to all you guys a while back. So she kind of gets ready mentally before the day, and it's all before the day starts. That's what you have to do. You just can't walk into the office and go, okay, here we go. All right. So mental work, number 2. Number 3, Katie Ledecky has no plan B. No plan B. She has no backup plans. In other words, she's totally committed. There's no safety net to her goals. If you have a tough day, a tough week, a tough month, you just find a way to rebound. You don't say, well, you know, if it doesn't work out this month, I'll get my CV together and start looking for other options because, you know, this is kind of hard. That's having a plan B. That's a safety net. She has no plan B. She is a swimmer. She's committed to being a dominant champion in the world. So if you want to dominate in what you do, that's something you might consider. If you keep working hard and learning from mistakes, you will improve. All right, number 4. Number 4 things, I will tell you this, she avoids the crowds. She avoids the crowds. Let me tell you what I mean by that. It means she doesn't do what everyone else is doing. She doesn't do what everyone else is doing. Conventional wisdom yields conventional results. Okay? If you think the way everybody else thinks, then you'll be average. Okay? If you join the crowd, I mean, she's a young person. She's in her 20s. If she just decided, you know what, I'm going to go out and do something fun. I'm going to run with my friends. I'm going to do whatever I want to do. My life's not as much fun as it should be. Then that's a recipe for her not being a world champion. And she would be a lot more average. So if you look around and you see that you are doing exactly what everyone else is doing around you, congratulations, you are average. Okay? Now, think about it. In LGFG, you all are, I think, a cut above the standard salesperson. You get better training. You get, I think, better leadership development. You have good meetings. You're associating with sharp people. So by virtue of the fact that you're around sharper people, that raises your game a little bit. But I'm just saying, if you just were to take a survey of a lot of your friends and you're like, well, I'm just doing it. I'm in my spare time, I do exactly what my friends do. And I don't, are you reading anything? No. Are you improving yourself? No. Are you working out and staying in shape? No. Well, that's pretty much like everybody. That's average. So Ledecky avoids being average by avoiding what everyone else does. Okay? Let me give you one more clue under point number 4. How many of you have heard of the common denominator of success? Revo, I know you have. Yeah? Other people? The common denominator is a little pamphlet written by a guy named Albert Gray, and he studied successful people across all businesses, all fields, whether it's medicine or social work or teaching or sales. And he found one common denominator that separated people who are great, who are very successful, from people who are average. And I'm going to give it to you. If you forget everything else on the call, this would be useful to you. So remember this. He said, successful people form the habit of doing things that unsuccessful people are not willing to do. Did you get it? Successful clothiers form a habit of doing things unsuccessful clothiers aren't willing to do. Successful EAs and booking buddies form habits of doing things that unsuccessful people in the booking buddy arena aren't willing to do. And they just, you know, some of them that aren't successful say, I just don't feel like it. This is too hard. Okay, cool. If you want to do really well, you got to go where other people won't go. There's a greater chance of failure. There's a greater chance of success. Doesn't mean, you know, if we use Chenda as the gold standard, which sometimes I tire of doing, he is good at what he does. He's got that cool lemon chiffon jacket you saw in the picture. But here's the deal. It's not like he loves doing the things that unsuccessful people aren't willing to do. He just does them, okay? He doesn't enjoy being rejected. He doesn't enjoy getting no's. He probably doesn't enjoy calling people on the phone at times, all right? He doesn't enjoy being stood up for appointments. And you're like, well, that never happens to him. Yes, it does. He doesn't enjoy it, but he just makes a habit of doing those things, and other people don't. Okay, I think I've made that point pretty well now. Number 5 on Katie Ledecky. She begins with the end in mind. She begins with the end in mind. And that means goals. She has goals. She consciously breaks out of her comfort zone to reset goals. And she wants to set world records. So this is a different league. She wants to win every race. Her teammates say that in practice, she's the nicest person ever. When it comes to a championship meet, she's absolutely scary. You don't even want to be around her. And I'm not saying that that's how you should be every day in the office, scary, but I'm saying decide where you want to end up, and that can be your goal. So do you want to be the best in cash flow? Do you want to be famous in the company for best cash flow? Or do you want to be like, oh, she is the best floater? Cool. Well, decide that. Do you want to have the best closing percentage? Do that, whatever. I don't care. Aim for something and make that your goal. But you start there and then you work backwards step by step to say, okay, if this is my big goal, how did I break that into little goals? All right, number 6, last one. And this will be obvious. Once she hits one of her major goals, the key is she sets bigger goals. So that's my final thought. Set bigger goals so that you don't get complacent. Okay? Maybe someday you want to run your own business. So, or maybe you want to set up your own charity someday. That could be a big life goal. Well, LGFG can help you save and get to a position financially where you can do that. So have some goals. And once you hit those goals, don't just go, okay, woo. We've seen great athletes who hit their goals and then sort of took a nosedive because they didn't have anything else to shoot for. So I'm encouraging you that if you're doing great right now, that's fantastic, but go ahead and set bigger goals sometimes, or change the goals, maybe look in different areas. Okay? So last thought on Ledecky, and I'll shut up about her, is that she doesn't, if you see a picture of her, she doesn't have an incredible wingspan in terms of arm length. She doesn't have webbed feet, and neither does Michael Phelps if you look at him. The differentiator on all these athletes is between their ears. They go to the gym in their mind first. They work out in their mind. If they're in a rut, they break out of it mentally first. And then they it begins to show up rather in their production. Cool. So those are some thoughts. You know, Ledecky was described as having nerves of an assassin. That's what her coach said. She has nerves of an assassin. You do not have to be that way as a clothier, okay? But the fact is that you do have to work hard, and you've got to think through these steps. What can I take from this? 1, I got to do the work. I've got to pay the price. Am I willing to pay the price? 2nd, you got to do the mental work. Am I getting ready in the morning for my day? Am I controlling the narrative of my story during the day, or just am I letting my thoughts run wild? You got to get control of that. Do I have a plan B, or am I totally committed? We talked about that. Are you doing something different from everybody else to separate you? I hope so. Do you begin with the end in mind with a big goal? And when you hit your goals, do you set bigger goals? That, in a nutshell, is what we've hit. So what I'm going to do is when I send a little note out with the recording for people who missed this, I've got some questions I want you guys to kick around and ask yourself, and that will yield some good discussions. Okay, I am done. So does anybody have a thought, or does this apply to anything that you've done, or whether in sports or what you're doing now? How do you prepare? How do you recover if you've had a setback? Does anybody have I'm going to take a drink of water. Anybody? Once again, okay. I'll take that as you're completely stunned by my wonderful delivery. Thank you. So do think through this. If you want to Google Katie Ledecky, I know there are different versions of this book. Mine, Jim. Excellent stuff. I may be pulling from it in the coming weeks. All right, so you guys have a fantastic week. Next week at this time, I will not be doing this call. As many of you know, or as some of you know, or most of you forgot, my daughter is getting married this weekend, and I am devoting 0 attention to the next call. 0! And I'm having all kinds of people flying in, and there'll be British people here, and too much beer happening and wine, so I will not be attending our next week's call. So if you guys want to go back through the archives and pull out a recording or have a discussion, or just use your time wisely.